The ground of reality and the ground of being is pure awareness. That is the actual basis of all that appears. The world and all beings are in reality the manifest radiance of this pure and luminous ground. This short text in 6 lines that I placed at the start of the video is called the Cuckoo of Awareness. This is a very ancient text. It's very beautiful and profound, and it's considered to be one of the essential root scriptures of Dzogchen. Even though it's very short, it contains the entire meaning of the Dzogchen teaching. But it's also very dense and not easy to understand without explanation. So today, I would like to share with you the essential meaning of this text. The title of the text, The Cuckoo of Pure Awareness. Why a cuckoo? This is a symbolic meaning. The cuckoo's song announced the end of winter and the coming of summer, the time for the flourishing of all things. Also, the cuckoo's song raises itself above the song of all birds, just like the meaning of the Dzogchen teachings cuts through everything by pointing directly to our real nature. The song of the cuckoo is here symbolic to the pure teachings of Dzogchen that bring about the flourishing of the light and bliss of pure awareness and realization, and free us from the darkness of ignorance. So listening to this text is like the song of the cuckoo, announcing the dawn of realization. This text, it shows the unitary and immediate nature of the natural state, the inconceivable, non-dual nature of reality and being. And it does it in a very elegant way. Before looking directly at the text, at those verses, it's useful to first look at these different aspects of what we call the ground, the path, and the result. So what is this ground? The ground means the basis of reality itself, and also ourselves. In the ordinary perception, it seems like I, myself, I somehow exist in some concrete way, and that reality out there is made of something substantial and separate from me. But here we say that the actual ground of reality is pure non-dual awareness. This is the actual basis of all reality. But when we say there is this basis, and then a path, and then a result, maybe we think that there is a gradual progression, like a cause and effect, gradual, chain. But that's not the case. That's not what Atiyoga is. The ground is the actual condition of reality as it is. The basis, it is the basis and source of all samsaric and enlightened manifestations. It is the infinite luminous expanse. The ground is primordial awareness. It is called the ground because it is the basis of all that appears. So you see, in reality, there is nowhere to go and nobody to achieve any result. There was never anyone born in samsara and no one to attain nirvana. It is like the sun. The sun is always there, shining, complete. It doesn't matter if there are clouds or not. It doesn't matter if it's daytime where we are or nighttime. The sun is always there, shining, complete. From our limited perspective, we speak of sunrise and sunset. But the sun is always just there, the same. So when we speak of ground, path, and result, it's only as a way to explain the teachings in the relative sense, for the benefit of beings like ourselves, who are not fully realized Buddhas. So, why is there this samsaric dualistic experience? In simple terms now, because of the innate factors of ignorance, when the mind does not realize its own true nature. You see, the ground is pure awareness, but it's also infinite potential arising as infinite manifestation. So, when the manifestations of the ground are not recognized as the non-dual awareness itself, then the radiant, luminous appearances of the ground seem to be something else, something separate. And we seem to appear as ourselves, the individual self. As we find ourselves in this dualistic condition, then we can receive some specific teachings on how to realize that authentic non-dual nature of the ground. And that we call the path. As we apply these teachings, we come to see this natural state, the intrinsic condition of reality as it is, and dissolve all this dualistic vision. And we call that the result. But you see, that which we call the result is the same as the ground. Just we call it the ground before it's realized and the result after it's realized. But in relation to the ultimate nature of reality, nothing changed. So you see, in reality, these three aspects are not different. In a simple way, we could say the ground is intrinsic awareness, the path is intrinsic awareness, and the result is intrinsic awareness. I'm oversimplifying some nuances here, but overall, that's the point. So there seems to be a path that develops, but that's just like the sunrise and the sunset. The immediacy of the true nature is ever present, like the sun. So in the first two lines, the cuckoo says, the nature of the infinite variety of phenomena is without duality. Each thing in itself, singularity, is beyond all concepts and limits of the mind. The nature of infinite variety. This infinite variety means all the visions that appear to us. In the general sense, it means all the infinite phenomena that manifest, like, well, everything. That tree, that car, that person, that rock, that thought, that feeling, everything. We can just call this all the visions. We say visions because it's all appearing to mind. Even sounds is an appearance to mind. For example, if we are dreaming, in that dream, maybe we hear some loud noises, sound. But in reality, that sound is inseparable from mind. It is an appearance in the clarity of mind. It is a mental vision. This is not only in a dream. In reality, that is also in the waking state. It is all appearances within clarity of mind. So they are all mental visions. There is a very beautiful passage from Longchenpa where he says that just as dreams do not move from the state of sleep, even as they appear clearly, the world of all appearances does not waver from the space of the ground of reality, which has no substance and is free from all conceptualizations. So the cuckoo says that all the infinite variety of all that appears, all the visions, is without duality. So what does that mean? So the ground is primordially pure, meaning it has no fixed essence. But it is also spontaneous clarity, and infinite creative energy. This creative energy arises unceasingly. So all that arises from the ground is not separate from the ground. It is non-dual. It is like reflections in a mirror or waves in the ocean. The images that appear in the mirror appear due to the mirror's potential to reflect, the mirror's clarity. These images are not the mirror itself, but they are not separate from the mirror. They are non-dual. Or the waves in the ocean, they appear. There is a great variety of waves, but they never move outside the ocean. In fact, they are nothing other than the ocean itself. That's what the cuckoo is saying. The nature of the infinite variety of phenomena is without duality in relation to the ground. All the infinite appearances are the radiant movement of the ground's pure awareness itself, appearing distinctly but non-dual. Okay, there is an important point I want to bring here about non-duality. Non-duality, in Dzogchen anyway, does not mean that everything is one, like one thing. No, there is not one thing anywhere. The ground is pure because it's not a thing. It's not an entity. But it is luminosity and creative energy also. But it's not one entity. The ground is not one or many. The ground itself is beyond all concepts and limitations of being one or two, or being or non-being. The real nature of the ground cannot be an object for the conceptual mind. Then the cuckoo says that each thing in itself is beyond all concepts or limits of the mind. So all that appears is non-dual with the ground of reality, inseparable. And yet, infinite variety appears distinct. It is like a mirage. In a mirage, we clearly see the water, but there is nothing there. So what is the nature of this appearance, of that mirage? We cannot say. It is beyond concepts. It appears, but we cannot find anything concrete there. For example, if we are looking at an orange, something appears there in our vision. But orange is only our own idea. From the side of that thing which is appearing, there is no orange there. Do you see this? The orange does not exist in that appearance that we call an orange. Maybe this sounds a little strange, but if we reflect a little and look at our mind, we can understand and see. The orange only exists as our own idea. We do not deny that something is appearing there. But when we look to understand really the nature of that appearance, we will reach a point where concepts cannot reach. We cannot find anything concrete anywhere. Coming back to the waves and the ocean, each wave appears distinct. However, if we try to investigate what is that exactly, can we find something concrete, a thing that is a wave apart or separate from the ocean? We cannot. We cannot find any entity separate and distinct from the ocean, something that exists by itself. The wave itself is not a wave. It is only movement of the ocean itself. Wave is only our mental projection. And that movement of the ocean is beyond concepts. Then the cuckoo says, the natural condition, suchness, as it is beyond concepts about anything. Yet, the radiance of Shamantabhadra manifests as all diversity of form. So it starts by pointing to the natural condition. If we consider these two lines to be related to the path or meditation, then this is connected to pointing to our natural condition or our natural state. Our own primordial state is the ground. It is pure awareness. This natural state is perfectly spontaneous as it is. That means it's not something created. We cannot make this natural awareness. We can create houses and computers, and we can create thoughts in our mind, but we cannot create this natural state. It is like space. Space pervades all things and holds all things, and yet space itself is uncreated. It is not an object we can define. Everything in the realm of dualistic mind is constructed and limited by time and space. But the natural state is beyond mind and beyond the constructions of mind. So this is something we need to discover for ourselves in our own experience. This we can discover in contemplation, in a very direct way. That is the point of Dzogchen, to discover this for ourselves. The first teacher of Dzogchen, Garab Dorje, summarized Atiyoga approach in 3 points. The first one is pointing directly at the nature of the mind. This means that first we need to recognize our own intrinsic presence. This is the start. This is one of the distinctive aspects of Atiyoga. So we need to distinguish between mind and the nature of the mind. What is this normal mind? If we look, this normal mind, it is thoughts and the dualistic experience of subject and object. Thoughts is mind, and there is also the root thought, which is me, myself. Me, self, is also a thought, even though it's a very special, subtle thought, but it's just a thought also. So mind is the thought and the entire consciousness of subject and objects. The self that apprehends things and all the objects that appear to consciousness, that is what we call mind. So, in this first statement, it says we should be introduced to recognize the real nature of our mind, which is pure, non-dual, uncreated awareness, intrinsic awareness. That is our real nature. As the Cuckoo says, the natural condition is beyond concepts about anything. So it is beyond me and my thoughts. What is beyond me and thoughts? That's what we are introduced to in Dzogchen. And we try to recognize that is the intrinsic presence. Intrinsic awareness is uncreated and is beyond the duality of self and objects. It is ever-present awareness free from all concepts and all duality. Pure awareness. Where can we find this? We need to look in our own mind. We need to look in our own mind. What is beyond self and appearances? What is beyond thoughts? What is that has no center and is ever present? What is this me? This is very subtle, but once we receive some pointing instructions or introduction and we learn how to observe ourselves, this presence gradually becomes clear. It's always there, really. It's so close that we don't see because we are always fixated on thoughts and appearances, and we never look at ourselves. Then the Cuckoo says something very important. The ground is infinite potential. So it says that the radiance of Shamantabhadra manifests as all diversity. So we are back full circle. Even though this presence is uncreated and beyond any duality of subject and object, and free of all concepts, the radiance of the Supreme Source, Shamantabhadra, manifests as all that appears. All that appears is the creative potential of the ground. this word, the ground, it can seem like a very dead word. But the ground is not some abstract idea, some dead and amorphous notion about emptiness. No. The ground is the spontaneously awakened wisdom nature of reality itself. And that is pure awareness and compassion with infinite qualities. Okay, I mentioned that Garab Dorje summarized the teachings in 3 points. The first was to discover the nature of the mind. The second one is removing all doubts. That means that we must resolve completely that there is nothing at all other than this primordial awareness. We need to come to that final and total discovery and conclusion directly in our own experience, to reach a complete clarity about what is this nature of the mind. And then finally, integrating everything. It means that all action arises from the nature spontaneously. We will see that better in the next 2 verses of the Cuckoo. Then it's more clear. So in the last 2 verses, the Cuckoo says that all is self-perfected in actuality. So liberate the sickness of effort. Remain free and natural in spontaneous total presence. All is self-perfected in actuality. All that appears, all this diversity, is beyond concept and of the same nature of the ground. So there is nothing that is apart or separate from the pure ground of reality. So what is there to obtain, or what is there to remove? What path is there to do to obtain something or develop something? Usually, in our normal perception, we think that some things are good and others are bad. That something positive needs to be developed and other negative things need to be removed. But this is delusion. This is only what we call karmic vision. From the point of view of normal sentient beings like ourselves, we have this experience of being a human being. This experience is based on the manifestation of habitual tendencies, karmic seeds from past lives, together with this innate ignorance. Because we have not fully realized the true nature, these habitual tendencies, rooted in ignorance or together with ignorance, appear as these forms, bodies, consciousness, world, and everything in this dimension of a human being. But this experience is impermanent. And at some point, this body will dissolve. Then, at that time, if we don't have yet realized our true nature and attained liberation in the ground, another body will appear as a result of the habitual tendencies. We call this the karmic vision of each sentient being. Each being has their own karmic vision according to their consciousness. But this process is all illusory, you see. It appears in this way, but it's due to the ignorance of not realizing our real nature. In reality, no one was ever born in samsara and no one will attain nirvana. All these appearances is like a magic show, a dream. All these appearances like a magic show, a dream. The cuckoo then says that once we realize our natural state, to simply remain in that condition as it is, without changing anything, it is to liberate the sickness of effort and to remain free in the natural and spontaneous total presence. The sickness of effort is the belief that we ourselves, as a self, a doer, we must do something to reach awakening, to reach happiness, to reach peace, to reach realization. That awakening is reached by doing something, like in a process of cause and result. This is the sickness of effort. It is a sickness because it's an idea based on our ignorance of our real condition, ignorance of the self-perfected nature. Doing things, actions based on dualistic ignorance just produces karma. Doing positive actions produces good karma. Doing negative actions produces bad karma. Good karma creates happy and good karmic vision. Negative karma manifests as suffering and problems. But both are karmic vision, limited, not freedom. So the path is no path. The path is to recognize our innate presence, clarifying all doubts until it's beyond doubt, and then allow that to pervade each moment. This, in essence, is what is also known as the path of cutting through, the meditation of non-meditation. Resting in the natural state will dissolve all the dualistic fixations and all the projections of this illusory mind into the actual ground of reality. But we cannot remain in fantasy and just have an intellectual idea. For that reason, even in this natural path of Atiyoga, we are taught to meditate. It's not a meditation on an object, like mindfulness. But nonetheless, we are taught to sit in meditation. Because otherwise it's very hard, almost impossible, to really break free from the dualistic fixations, because our habitual tendencies are very strong. So when we start contemplative practice at the start, we need to apply some authentic diligence to remain alert. I mean, that is, not to fall into distraction, chasing thoughts, and also not to fall into drowsiness and spacing out. At the start, this does require the application of diligence. Otherwise, our habits of chasing after thoughts, sensations, and experiences, it will continue to rule our life. And we will not deepen any concrete experience. I made a video about this topic, effort versus no effort, where I go into some more specific explanations on this. If you like, you can watch that video for more clarity on this point. In any case, once we have some clear recognition of intrinsic awareness, then the meditation is simply to let our condition remain in that state, without falling into dualism and distractions. This is the meaning of remain free and natural in spontaneous total presence. That also means that we try to integrate that condition in all aspects and situations of life. This is very important. Whether walking, eating, working, etc., to gradually habituate ourselves to remain in that condition of pure awareness. This is very hard at the start. But if our stability in meditation increases, then it will become easier. In any case, if we don't know exactly what is this pure awareness, then there is nothing to integrate, at this point. So at this point, we can simply try to be present in a normal way. Just do our best to not walk around distracted, but to be present in the normal way. I think everyone understands what I mean by what it means to be present and not distracted in normal way. Then later, when we discover our state of intrinsic presence, then integration will also become easier. So this means to go beyond effort, because it is a natural condition. This is the essence of Dzogchen. The same for meditation. If we don't know yet what is this intrinsic non-dual awareness, we can just sit in open presence. We try to sit, relax, and remain with an open and vast mind, lucid and present in ourselves, without falling after distractions. This is a good start. So, this was a brief introduction to the Cuckoo of Awareness. It's a very short text, but as you can see, very beautiful, very profound. If we are interested in this path, then teachings like these are very important, because they are the root of the tradition. We can really start to understand what is the meaning of Dzogchen, without getting confused or mixed with other approaches. Dzogchen is a teaching and a path totally complete by itself. Then we can continue and develop a much more complete and precise understanding of the Dzogchen teachings, path, meditation. These type of teachings support the discovery of our nature, the concrete knowledge of our real condition. That is what Dzogchen essentially is. Dzogchen is our real condition. How to discover our real condition. That is what Dzogchen is. It's simply that. Hope this helps.